This is Rebound Stronger with Fauzi. Life is full of up and downs. It's easy when we're doing great, however, how we deal with the lows determines whether we are going to stay down for a long time or recover fast and become better. There is a saying, the hardest steel goes into the hottest furnace. I do believe that we can always overcome adversities. These struggles can come from a challenging childhood, financial issues, relationship problems, disabilities, and many other forms. I decided that I need to start reaching out to people who have overcome these adversities and learn from them how they use these difficulties as a stepping stone, how these setbacks change their life for the better. I record my conversations with them so that you can also learn from these amazing individuals. Take note and take massive actions to make our life better. This is Rebound Stronger Podcast with Fauzi.
Placed on your finger many years ago, this wedding ring still flows. My love for you, Doris, continues to flow. This I'm sure, my love, you already know. The color gold reminds me how beautiful you are. Your inner beauty that is sparkling like a star. The name on the ring bears one name. My love for you, Doris, always remains the same.
Hi Rebound Stronger listeners, just now we just heard Raymond reciting a few lines from a beautiful poem he wrote for his wife Doris entitled Ring on Your Fingers. Hi Raymond.
Hi.
Welcome to Rebound Stronger.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you for being here. Raymond is a poet, author of 30 books, forum writers for newspapers, advocate for mentally ill, as well as a motivational speakers. Okay, Raymond, let's start with something positive. Please share me something you're grateful for today.
Certainly, the things I'm very grateful for is one where I have managed to write 30 books, produce 30 books, and in the process also help my wife to churn out 8 of her own books. And the other thing is I'm very grateful for is that I managed in the process of taking care of my wife to learn so much about schizophrenia and depression. And in the process, I'm able to share my life experiences with many out there. When we have a lot of people who are suffering from mental illness. So that's my goal. I'm very blessed in the sense that perhaps this is although it's a cross I had to carry, but I think God has blessed me with the skill of reaching out to thousands out there.
Could you share with us when you first met your wife?
Okay, that was, we wind back the clock to...
How many years ago?
It was about 40 years ago.
40 years ago, wow.
I met her, strangely enough. Actually, we were pen pals, you know, the power of the pen. You look at our fate, we actually were pen pals, and through the power of the pen, I became an author, she became an author. We met as pen pals. I still remember the time we met was on a Good Friday. And you know, as Catholic, we're not supposed to take meat on Friday, but somehow or other, I forgot about it. We were having soup kambing at the former satay club in somewhere in town. And I still remember she was such a beautiful woman. She touched me with the sincerity of her heart. And that's when I decided, after our first date, to carry on the relationship. And eventually, after a long period, we managed to get married.
How long you dated her before you got
Actually,
married?
We were courting for about 6 months, and then
okay.
It's like a whirlwind romance. We just decided one day, I said, look, let's get married.
At that time, did you know that she had schizophrenia?
Yes, in fact, after the third date, she was actually very hesitant to tell me about her illness because, you know, mental illness, there's so much stigma against people with this illness, but she took the courage and told me about it. So I said, doesn't matter, as long as you're a good person, you can be a good wife to me, that's all that matters. And I'm very grateful because I have absolutely no regrets marrying her, because she really is a sincere, beautiful human being.
Raymond, Was there any objections from either Doris' side or your side about marrying Doris?
Yes, yes and no. My mother's side, my family side was okay, but her parents had objected because of a couple of reasons. Marrying out of one's own race in the 60s and 70s was actually unheard of. So that was one reason, different race, different religion. Then again, the most important concern they had was that she had schizophrenia, and it's a very serious mental disorder. They were worried that if I marry her, I might ill-treat her, bully her, and her condition will deteriorate further. So that was a valid concern. So eventually we managed to overcome all these difficulties.
So can you share more about schizophrenia? How is it like? First is, what do you think the challenges faced by the persons, because you live with your wife 40 years?
Yes.
And also perhaps the second part, which I'm interested to know, is how would you maybe give a tips or for the caregivers or the friends and families who are around people with schizophrenia or other mental illness?
I think what is very important in the early years, public education on mental illness, schizophrenia, depression was practically unheard of. But now, based on my experience, I will advise people strongly to first of all learn as much as can about the illness, the warning signs, the symptoms. Like when she is not well, she will have severe headaches, then she'll start crying for no reason. Then she will start hallucinating, start imagining that people are trying to enter the house. She will have suicidal thoughts, and many things. Even some physical conditions like dandruff in her hair will appear a lot, even though she shampoos, and various other things like she believes that people are trying to harm her. She believes that people are trying to talking bad about her and all that. These are all some of the things she believes, that people are scolding her and all that. So through the course of my 40-year journey, I've learned a lot about the illness, and I would advise people. That's why I go out and speak on this subject, because if you are a caregiver to someone with mental illness, if for the very first time you'll be groping in the dark, you need to understand a lot about the illness. You need to understand the symptoms, prevent the symptoms from getting worse. If you, like myself, over the years I managed to understand the different symptoms. So before it comes to a breaking point, where if the suicidal part it comes in, then they need hospitalization. So you prevent that at the early stage. You understand this. You don't wait until let's say the headaches appear. Then after that she can't sleep. Don't wait until the other symptoms appear. Then hospitalization may not be necessary. So you bring her to see the psychiatrist. You can adjust the medicine, and hospitalization may not be necessary. So I think basically people need to understand the illness. Basically, people fear what they don't understand. That's why you find a lot of stigma. When we're not treated, they may become aggressive, violent, all that. So there's a perception that these people are all troublemakers. But I think, how I took care of her for so many years, where she became an author, contributed as a useful member of society. Now people need to see these points, that hey, she is capable. She has economic value, and I think we can draw that out. The media is very important, because the media can sway people's thinking. So the media can see the pluses of people with mental illness, how they can come up in life. I think we can achieve something.
Raymond, can you share the challenges, maybe the tough times during your marriage with Doris?
I think the managing this illness is like walking through a minefield. You never know when the bomb will explode. Even with dedicated medication compliance, there is still a chance that a person will relapse. Why? Environment. For example, she was on very strict medication compliance over my supervision. But when the mother died, for example, she was very attached to the mother. So when the mother died, she relapsed. Okay, this is unavoidable. Then again, for example, excessive noise. She cannot take excessive noise, like upgrading of the lifts and stuff like that. So you have to be very cautious about it. Having learned about it, I would actually, when there's upgrading or what, I will actually take her out from the house and move her to maybe a hostel or what, in YMCA or something like that, to get her away from the noise. But there are some occasions when it's unavoidable. For example, when she had knee surgery, I knew that when she has knee surgery, because it's very painful, the fear of the surgery plus the difficulties of her having to walk after having to struggle to just go for rehabilitation actually triggered a relapse. And she actually had a relapse. So these are anxiety periods when it affects me quite a lot. Because when she relapses, she has to go through a whole process of rounds of electric convulsive therapy and so on. This is very painful for me. She fears ECT and all that. So basically, there are some things I can prevent, like excessive noise. I can put double glazed windows in my room, so that when the noise goes on, she can actually the noise is minimized to about 50%. But if it's very intense, I have to find ways to get her out of the house. So these are some preventive measures. Every period that she relapses is heartbreaking for me. It's costly, financially, physically, emotionally. 12 times in our life she has been hospitalized through relapses. So it was a very tough journey for me.
Did you ever regret marrying Doris?
No regrets whatsoever. In fact, I even tell people until today, if I had to live my life all over again, I would still want to marry Doris. Firstly, to take care of her. Secondly, she is a beautiful human being. I mean, she really is a good coach. Very, very unselfish in her ways. She makes sure that she always has special food for me. Even when she was struggling with arthritis, she'll make sure my birthday, she'll make chili crabs for me. She knows I like chili crabs. She will go out of her way just to make me happy. So I think I still feel her loss, trying to cope with it. Grief is very difficult to cope with. It will come, it'll go, it will come, it'll go. And there may be periods, there are too many things in my house that reminds me of her. So it's very difficult to move away from grief.
So how you deal with that so far?
Well, I think one of the most difficult things, people like us, I'm a widower, and I also feel for the elderly lonely. Singapore has got thousands of lonely people. Either they are not married, or if they're married, they lost their spouse. Stuff like that. So basically, I would advise people, if you can't find a partner, at least find one or two good friends. Isn't easy to find friends. I mean, friends you can get by the hundreds, but a real friend who will be there for you when you need them, that's important. These are some of the important issues. I will try to rebuild my life. I think if I can find love again, I think that will help a great deal. Because having been without my wife for more than 40 years, she was my whole world, and then suddenly she's gone. For 3.5 years, I've actually struggled with loneliness.
So nowadays you also often write for forums in newspapers for several causes, especially for the mentally ill. Maybe could you share more about that?
Having gained a very valuable experience through my own life's experience of taking care of Doris, how I can help her, I want to share my experiences. So when I see issues of people, with mental illness, struggling, or their family struggling, I think I need to raise the issues up and then suggest constructive ways of how we can resolve this problem. Like recently, there was a case of the lawyer M. Ravi who had a bipolar condition and he assaulted somebody. So generally, people will view the media, as I said, has plays a very important part in swaying people's thinking. So if people see all these things, they will only draw one conclusion. These people are troublemakers. Now, but with treatment, he has been given an 18 months mandatory treatment regime to follow, and he has got a job. I think basically people must have a job. People with mental illness have a job to keep having them have a meaningful purpose in life. If you have a job, even like myself, if I do writing and all, I find it's very meaningful. There's a purpose in life. You can get some revenue at the same time. You can keep your mind actively engaged. I think this is very important. So I will raise issues like this up in the papers where I can actually contribute as a useful forum writer. And I'm glad that the newspapers are receptive to what I write. They know I have a valuable contribution to make. And if you have valuable contributions to make, you should do it.
I think your life story, your love story is a really a great examples of what you have there.
Yes.
Love never fails.
Yeah, love never fails, and that through adversities you can rebound very, very in sync with what your project does, how you can turn your whole life around for positive traits, stuff like that. And basically, one of the reasons why I became an author was because when I read this, I used to contribute poems to this website called Starlight Cafe. The webmaster has passed on, but he used to tell all of us to write things, positive things, right? Don't say, woe, it's me, I'm suffering. Write things that can uplift people and stuff like that. So I'm very motivated by these kind of things. And I still remember what one of the famous authors wrote. He said, all of us are he said, this of the human race, all of us are in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. Bottom line he was saying is that life is difficult, but if we can find that silver lining,
there's still hope.
There's still hope. And that was precisely the quote I showed to my wife when I was trying to persuade her to write her first book, her cookbook. She said many cookbooks in the market, very hard to sell. And I showed her this quote. You won't believe it, she changed her mind. She started doing the book. And from there, it spiraled to her coming up with 7 other books. So she wrote in total 8 books. Big achievement for someone with this.
Big achievement, definitely. Yeah.
So I think basically we have to motivate people. Let's use our skills, our experiences, our wealth of experiences to motivate, inspire, and turn the whole world around for the better.
Yeah. Be positive.
Be positive.
Be a good example.
Yes.
Okay. Could you share what your goals for the futures?
Okay, having learned so much about schizophrenia and depression, the Institute of Mental Health uses me to give talks to students, undergrads and all that. And these are going to be our future professionals. So they value my experience. But I want to do more than that. I've gone to more than 100 places, speak on schizophrenia and depression. Besides the one that I speak at IMH, I want to reach out to countries beyond Singapore. Okay, and I have in mind Malaysia. They have less than 400 psychiatrists to deal with 4,000 psychiatric patients, and that's quite a lot. So they need to be equipped with caregiving skills. They need to be equipped with how to manage a mental illness, and I want to reach out to them. Okay, so I've written to the Malaysian Mental Health Association. Hopefully by February I should be able to get a result as to whether I can go there. The other one that I want to reach out is to the Philippines, because there also they have a lot of people who have mental illness. Then also Indonesia. God willing, I hope I can reach out to these places. The other thing that I have a very strong affinity with children. I love children, whenever I see children, because children are in some ways like pets. They are non-judgmental. They just know how to give love. And
unconditional love.
Unconditional love, yeah, that's right. So basically, I was just playing with Fauzi's children, and I thought, because children know when you love them, and then they will come to you. So I've such a strong affinity with children, even though my wife and I didn't have children, but we had a very strong bond with children. I still do. And I want to visit, in the time I want to visit an orphanage in the Philippines and go and teach children English there, maybe even if it's a week, go it on a trial basis. And I hope one day that will materialize. I think basically to give love to children, because education is very important for children. When you don't have an education, you're going to struggle in life. So basically to give love to children, to educate them, teach them, mingle with them, show them the power of love, show them how education is so important for their lives. This is another one of my goals.
One last question. Tell me more about your shirt.
Okay, as you can see that I'm quite a big fan of Elvis. So you look at my sideburns and my hair.
Oh, okay.
Music is very much part of my life. In fact, my wife also liked music. My wife was a big fan of Elvis. I'm also a big fan of Elvis.
What was her favorite song from Elvis?
Her favorite song was Blue Suede Shoes.
Okay.
One for the money, two for the shoes. She loved that song very much. And she was actually very much into Western music after getting to know me. So Elvis is music is very therapeutic for me. Music, writing. These are some of the playing with kids. These are some of the things that helps to de-stress me from the struggles in life, life journey. And people have many times have asked me, you have taken care of Doris, you're taking care of your twin brother now, you're taking care of your mother also in nursing home. Who's taking care of you? And I always point up there. Jesus is taking care of me in more ways than one. Because sometimes even when I don't have money also, when I need money urgently, I just pray, and then somehow or other writing assignment will come to me and I'll be able to get money and stuff like that. So basically, I think people with mental illness also need to have a faith. Whether you're a Buddhist, Hindu, Catholic, Muslim, if you have a faith, your journey is a little bit smoother. So embrace a faith and your journey will be easier.
Thank you, Raymond, for coming to Rebound Stronger Podcast. I really enjoy our talk discussion today. I think I've learned a lot from schizophrenia, how you deal with or being a caregiver for a mentally ill person, and also unconditional love, which you shows. Yeah. Love never fails, and also the last part about faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, Rebound Stronger listeners. So that was our conversations with Raymond, and